How you guys doing? Welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at TronPad, and you probably looked this Launchpad up because you want to find out if the Launchpad is actually dead. Is it still operational? Do we think that the TronPad is going to make a comeback, or should we leave things in the past? This is a Bluezilla Launchpad. So it's partnered up with BSC Pad. Today we're going to look if this is an interesting launchpad or if we should just move on. So if that's what you're interested in, definitely stay tuned for this one. Alright everybody, thank you so much for joining me again today. Before we get into this, please make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to note down, I'm not a financial advisor, so everything here is educational purposes only. Perform your own due diligence and your own research. Alright, let's jump into this. So the biggest reason why TronPad right now is a very difficult one and why you might not want to get into it at the moment is because they don't have any projects. They have absolutely no communication with the community right now, and it appears that the project is dead. But then again, it is a Bluezilla project and Bluezilla is still up and running. So that begs the question, is it just a good point of entry? Are they going to come back? Well, we're going to review the whole project to really find that out. So yeah, let's get into that. And at the end of the video, I'll have my own conclusion about what I think is going to happen with TronPad. So let's get started with what it actually is. It's one of the biggest launchpads on the Tron network, on the Tron chain. And as I said, it is created by Bluezilla in partnership with BSC Pad. So they have a pretty cool looking website. Let's read real quick the About Us page so we know a little bit about what the Launchpad is. TronPad is the only IDO platform built and partnered with the Tron network. TronPad will empower cryptocurrency projects with the ability to distribute tokens and raise liquidity. So yeah, we're really looking at the first and only launchpad on the Tron network, which in and of itself, of course, is a USB, right? So that is why we liked TronPad about a year ago when they were so bullish and things were just working out for them. Right now, however, of course, in this bear market, launchpads have been hit incredibly hard, and this new launchpad in this new chain couldn't hold themselves above water, which is why we're right now seeing basically the project on hold. So the real question today in this review is, do we think that they can climb out of this and be here for the next bull run, or is the project dead, right? That's what we're trying to find out. So we see here the tiered system. Now this is just something we have to know, right? Not really relevant to find out whether this project will make a comeback or not, but it is relevant to know if we want to get into this. So there's the first tier called Earth, and there's actually 3 sub tiers in Earth. 5,000 will give you 1 lottery ticket, and 10k, and then 15k. Now at the moment, the price of 1 Tron is only 0.04. So this is actually quite cheap, right? Times 100, yeah. So it's not a lot at all. Let me just bring up my calculator so we can get this. Oh, that's a calendar calculator. There we go. Let's bring this up, and then we have 0.04, and we will do that times how much? 5,000. All right, 5,000. Then we can have the cheapest tier basically. So it's $20. $20, really cheap. Again, we're talking about a bear market, so all of the launchpad prices are going down quite significantly. Nevertheless, we're talking about a launchpad that doesn't really have any projects, so $20 just for a lottery ticket, that is a bit much. So it's really just the question if, whether you want to pay these kinds of prices. Because if we look at the guaranteed allocated tiers, for instance, 50k for the first guaranteed allocated tier, keep in mind, guys, and really think about this. You would be paying, let's see, 50k times 0.04. You will be paying $200 to get a guaranteed allocation on this launchpad. I mean, think about that very hard and thoroughly. The launchpad doesn't have any launches, right? So the token doesn't have utility, but you will be paying $500 or $200-ish or so to get yourselves those guaranteed allocations. So it's still relatively expensive, but what do you get in return for those expenses? Well, right now, not really a lot. So again, that really brings me back to the original question. is this an investment long term? Are we going to deposit this money in the hopes or in the thought that later down the line they're going to earn back this money and the token will become more valuable again? Well, then it could be a good investment. But if we're just looking at the situation right now, it's very tricky, and I couldn't recommend getting this at the moment unless you feel like TronPad will make a comeback. Now, the tiers go up, right? You have 200K, 500K. They will also do a private allocation at the highest tier, which is Sun. It will require you to stake 500,000 Tron tokens. You will also have to do this 3 hours before allocation round opens. So 3 hours before, you will have to stake your tokens, and that is the same with every tier. So 3 hours before, that's completely fine. And then you have round 2, the FCFS round, typical Bluezilla thing to do. In round 2, the unsold tokens from the first round are made available on an FCFS basis. So only the guaranteed tiers, Moon and above, these members can purchase an additional amount. So whenever the allocation isn't fully filled, then you'll be able to get an additional one. Now, the problem with this is, and it's something that a lot of people know, but when the allocation hasn't been fully filled, that means that there's a bit of a risk, right? If you have a pool and there's only 300 investors that are buying up 100K or whatever, that can bring risks with it. The more investors, the more spread out the money is, the more safe your investment will be, the less spikes it will have. But if there's not a lot of investors and those investors get to buy a bigger and bigger allocation and more and more and more, what's going to happen inevitably is that you're going to have 200,000K worth of allocation spread over maybe 200 people. And that is very dangerous. So yes, on one hand, it's a good thing. On the other hand, if it makes it to FCFS, it means that there was not a lot of people buying the allocation because there's leftover, which brings this risk with it, of course. Now, again, also another indicator is if it makes it to FCFS, means it didn't sell out. So people don't really care about the project, meaning it's probably not that special anyways. So yeah, they sell it as a bit of a USP. Is it really? No, not that much. But, it's good to know anyways that it's there. So yeah, that's the FCFS round. Here they have the strategic partner, the BSCPad team. Yeah, so they partnered up with the BSCPad, which of course is just the Bluezilla team. So interesting to see how they market it as we partner with BSCPad. No, you didn't. You partner with Bluezilla. Incubator and investment partner, Bluezilla. Yeah. So I think they market it like this for some reason to appear like they have two partners instead of one. But Bluezilla is BSCPad and BSCPad is Bluezilla. So I don't really understand that, but sure, that is their partner. All right, you guys, I think this is just about enough on the actual website. Let's look at the projects and see how the Launchpad is doing right now. After that, we'll move over to the white paper and the token. So stay tuned for this. The most important part is yet to come. Okay, let's look at these projects over here. Now, like I said before, right? There's no projects right now. No projects open, no projects coming soon. This is really bad, especially because TronPad is not a launchpad where you do other things, right? That there's no other token utility apart from participating in these launches, but there's no launches. So that is really negative. Now, if I think that they're going to launch again, and if the team is still active, we are going to get into that in a little bit. But first, let's look at the track record of what they have done in the past, right? So looking at some of these projects, Katana Inu, MetaVPad, PulsePad, VelasPad, my first observation is that most of their launches appear to be other launchpads. GameZone, VelasPad, Private, AdaPad, NFT launch, right? ETHPad. So all of these launches, apart from maybe a couple, are other launch pads. Now, is there something wrong with that? Nah, absolutely not. And but it is a weird thing that I haven't really seen that much. Now, what about their results? Well, one of their launches was MetaVPad. Of course, at the end of the day, a pretty successful launchpad in its own right. So, and the token launch went very well, 482x over on their all-time high, and ROI over here at a 4x. So a very, very valuable project. As you can see also over here on the TronPad, look at the vesting schedule, 10% was actually released at TGE. So that's 10% of your tokens with a 482x, and then 90% of your tokens with a 4x. So that is a huge return. Especially, yeah, look, so this was still during the bull run of 2021. So it makes sense, right? It makes sense, but still, right? Giving credit where due, this was a very good project for the investors over on TronPad. Now moving over to Katana Inu. This was also during the bull run. So for the bull run, we're actually seeing a really mediocre project with an all-time high of around 10x and then an ROI of around 0.32x. So that is unfortunate for them. Again, it's not... this is something we would usually see during a bear market, where these are the kind of results that we have right now. It is interesting to see these results coming in during the bull run. I didn't expect that. But hey, you know, that is sometimes it goes like that. So that was Katana Inu, not the best project over there. Then Pulsepad, another Launchpad. I haven't actually reviewed that one, I believe. This one did a lot better. This was also, again, during the bull run. So this was 2.29x and all-time ROI at 444x. So all of these projects ages ago, right? They don't have any projects right now. And all of these projects were from a very long while ago. Now, they might be performing well, but that's almost kind of irrelevant if you face the fact that they're not really doing anything now anymore, right? Their own launch was back in June 2021. And again, a very, very, very good launch, 142x they did at the all-time high and nearly a 3x ROI. So yeah, a very good launch done by BSC Pad. So nothing wrong with that. And the problem here is, again, right, they're not launching anymore. We don't have any launches recently. Nothing is planned out. So the project seems to be dead. So let's go to the big question. And that is, do I think that the TronPad team will return? And to answer that question, we're going to have to venture off to Twitter because I think the answer actually lies here in a sense, right? We're seeing very small Twitter, only 276 followers, smallest Twitter I've ever covered. But here's what we see, nothing, right? We don't see anything. There's nothing posted. There's no information towards the community. There's nothing. And I think that is the biggest hint that we needed, right? That TronPad is in the past. They're in the end of 2021, and as soon as the bear market hit, the Launchpad suffered so tremendously that they were basically out of the game right away. Over here as well, all of these articles, 2021, 2021. So why are we doing this video regardless? And I think that's actually a very important note that I want to give you guys. So TronPad remains to be one of, or I think the only launchpad on Tron. So anyone who's bullish on Tron eventually finds its way to TronPad. And because they are so bullish on the chain, or because they really, really want to get into a launchpad over on Tron, they might be so hyped that they get into TronPad. But right now, that just doesn't seem like a good idea. Now, what about the question, hey, maybe in the future they'll come back to the project and now it's just a cheap entry point. What about that? Well, you know, if they had any plans to return to this project, then I would have assumed that they would have been at least somewhat in contact with their community. They at least somewhat would have told them, hey, you know, we're still here, but they're not. They're not saying anything. Now let's take a look at actually the price and the people that, let's start with that, the people that still hold TronPad, and that gets pretty interesting because 15,000 addresses are still holding on to this token. So we're not seeing any projects, nothing is coming up, but 15k people hold the tokens regardless. So that ought to give some hope for this project, right? I mean, if you think about it, that ought to give some hope to it for sure. So again, how many tokens do they hold at the end of the day? Because that is a very important detail. So these are our contracts over here. So yeah, we're seeing, wait a second. This is all 500k, 300k. All right, so these are not whales or anything like that. Maybe a couple. These are people holding the highest tier, and that's about it. Yeah, okay. So not very big holders, but holders nonetheless. Holders that are holding a guaranteed allocated tier. So they're not selling their tokens. 15,000 people are not selling their tokens. Why? Do they actually expect them to come back? And there's a good argument for it. So allow me to get into that argument right now. We're talking about Bluezilla. So Bluezilla is basically the brain behind TronPad, and Bluezilla is still up and running. And Bluezilla has kind of adopted this tactic of sitting out this bear market, right? They are keeping low. Their launchpads aren't launching things. They are just kind of there, and they are waiting for the return of this bull run. So a very strong argument can be made that TronPad is waiting for the market conditions to improve to come back. And at the very least, a good chunk of the investors seem to be believing that as well. At least 15,000 addresses think TronPad will come back. Otherwise, they would have sold their tokens. Now, another thing could, of course, be that they have their tokens locked, but TronPad has been inactive for months. Most of these investors should have had their tokens unlocked already, but they're still keeping the tokens over here. So that is very important to keep in mind. What is the conclusion? Do I actually think that they're going to come back? It's Bluezilla. I have never seen them abandon a launchpad before. Yes, I think if market conditions return to a better state relatively soon, there could be a very good chance that Bluezilla says, hey, we're going to continue with TronPad right now. So what has surprised me doing all this time? Well, obviously over here, it was at a pretty much a peak around 10 cents, very large volume. Right now it is at an all-time low with a very low volume. Now this is a pattern we have seen with virtually every other launchpad. So that's nothing out of the ordinary. And the price is somewhat maintaining itself, only going down ever so slightly. Over on CoinMarketCap, kind of divided between bearish and bullish. We see here someone saying, according to Bluezilla support, there will be no more IDOs, including the DotPad and KCCPad and TronPad. So that is what Bluezilla supports apparently has brought out about this. We do have some comments here. Okay, thank you. What can we do with the token? Just sell? Is it just a scam? So it apparently is now confirmed by Bluezilla support, if we have to believe this comment, that there will not be any more IDOs. Now, this at least doesn't say a definitive ending. They don't say, hey, we're never going to post anything again. They just say, we're not doing any IDOs right now. So arguably, these people have a very, valid comment saying, hey, what the hell do I do with my token? Just sell it. And, again, the question lies in, do you think that they might come back? If they do, hold on to your token would probably be the better option. But at this moment, it actually looks really difficult for them to really make that return, especially because Bluezilla has so many launchpads that are all suffering. What are the odds of them? So bleak, right? Bleak, very bleak for TronPad. And again, we can go over the white paper, but I think at this point, it is almost out of relevancy because the launchpad is in so much trouble, and our conclusion is basically that likely TronPad will not make a comeback. So we can go over the whole launchpad, but I think at this point it's almost a waste of your time, right? I think our conclusion, and I'm just going to make the conclusion, it's just going to be a quick review because the conclusion is simple. TronPad is a dead project, and at the first looks of it, that already looked that way, but obviously you have to actually take the time to really find out, really see if that is actually the case. And with TronPad, there is no doubt in my mind, this project just isn't there anymore. And although very much unfortunate, that's just the way it is. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys disagree with me, let me know. And I will see you all in the next one. Ciao, ciao, bye-bye. Take care.